Hello, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to be ranking my Glamlite palettes. Now I don't own every palette that they've made, and I just decluttered the street taco palette, the small one, so that's not going to be in here, but all the other ones will. So let's go through. A lot of it's going to be based on color story, personal preference kind of a thing. So none of these are bad, but if I rank your favorite palette at the bottom, it's probably because it has to do with color story or the shimmers in it, more likely. So yeah, let's jump in. If you're new, welcome. Make sure you take a moment and hit the subscribe button. And yeah, I think we're gonna start at the bottom and go all the way. And how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15. Like I said, I had 16 and I decluttered the street taco. So at the very bottom, and this is purely color story because I do like the shimmers, I have the Ghost Face palette, the original one. It's just a grayscale palette. I compared this to the Jeffree Star Cremation. This is a pared down version of Cremation in my opinion. I feel like it was lacking white, needed some color, like some reds or something in it. So the color story was just really boring and disappointing. Like I do like the shimmers that are in here. I've used them a bit. I generally will reach for this to use with other palettes, but yeah, it's just a color story thing. My friend Angie was asking if they were going to bring this back when they launched Ghostface Returns, but I think because she was roasted so hard for the color story on this palette, I think that's why she hasn't brought it back, because I don't know that there's a huge demand for this anymore. I know there are, like my friend Angie, I think still was looking to pick it up, but yeah, I think that's why she didn't bring it back. Then at 14, we have the Kiss palette. Now, I haven't used this, but I've heard that the shimmers in here are not great. It is a very dark palette, like the only light shade is a shimmer. That's typical with Glamlite. They tend to be mid-range to deep. They don't go super light. They are a Hispanic-owned brand, so the owner and her vice president are not fair like I am. So I understand why they make the palettes the way they do, but for somebody like me, I could use a little bit more lightness, and I think this color story is fine. That's why I bought it. I kind of liked the color story. It looked like they expanded on the Jason palette with this color story, but yeah, I haven't heard great things about it, and having not used it, that's why it's ranked low. Number 13, we have the Scooby-Doo palette. Now, this is not a quality issue. This palette is good. I have used it. I actually used it on my kids for Halloween because we dressed up as the Scooby-Doo characters, so I thought it would be fitting to use the Velma shades on Emma because she was Velma, and then Diana, you know, the Daphne shades and so forth, but it's just big. It's a very cumbersome palette, but I do like that this one goes a little bit lighter. I like that you've got a row for each character. I do feel like there's some unnecessary space in this palette, like they could have made it smaller, but the quality is good. It's heavy, like you could hurt somebody with it. Number 12, we have the Berrylicious palette from Strawberry Shortcake. I've used this one a few times. I don't reach for it a lot. I do like pink and green together, but again, it doesn't go super light in the matte, so that could be why, but I do wish this smelled like strawberries. I think they missed the mark on that a little bit, but nothing bad to say about that palette per se. So at 12, we have the Good Guys. Again, not a quality issue. This is just a color story issue. I do like, you got blue, green, kind of an orangey red row. I like how they laid this out, but again, doesn't go super light. I bought this one on a whim because I didn't have it. I wasn't like super drawn to this color story. Just the completionist in me wanted to have all their horror palettes, so I ended up picking that up later. Number 11, we've got the Nightmare on Elm Street. I didn't love the shimmers that were in here, and as much as I like green, this is probably one of the least used Glamlite palettes. I've only used this twice, so that's the only reason it's ranked so low. I do like that we've got, you know, this light shade, but again, like this doesn't go super light. It's an 10 pan. So, I mean, you can only do so much with 10 shades, but, and then these could be like 10 and 11 could be swapped. I like these equally. There's nothing wrong with them. I got these on sale. These were like a Halloween launch a couple of years ago, and I bought them like after the fact when they were marked down, but I do like them. I have used them. 7. So at number 7, we have the new Trick or Treat palette, same size as the Scooby-Doo palettes, and the Nightmare on Elm Street. I like that this one goes a little bit lighter. They did a good job with this color story. It's a pretty fall palette. So, and as much as I don't like the shimmers that are in this, I've used this one a lot, so that's the only reason it's up so high. I don't have a ton of red palettes, and the shimmer in here that I do like is this pinky one up here, but it's not the normal shimmer that Glamlite puts out. I think they were experimenting with formulas on this, or they tried to, you know, make something a little different for cost purposes. I'm not really sure, but that one is at 6. And then at 5, we have the new Ghostface Returns. And I was thinking, like, if they did a Krampus palette for Christmas, this would be, throw a couple of greens in here too, and you'd have a Krampus palette. But I do like this is the palette we should have got the first time. There's a matte white, you've got a black, and like a deep charcoal. You've got kind of a burgundy, a red, a couple of red shimmers. So definitely much better of a color story. I do wish they would bring the other one back, because I think now that they have this one, and the original Ghostface pair nicely together. But like I said, I think it's because she was roasted so hard. This one is at number 4, the Chucky, like, what is this? Crazy in Love palette. I've used this one a lot, and it has surprised me how much I've reached for this. So that's why it's up as high as it is, because I do reach for this. I end up with pretty looks all the time from it. So, and I do like using the Ghostface palette with this, because again, it runs pretty dark. You don't have very many light shades in here, and this is a shimmer. So the Ghostface palette comes in handy with the grays that are in here. Number 3, we have the Camp Crystal Lake Friday the 13th palette. I really like the color story on this. I like the rows. You've got a taupey row, kind of a greeny brown row, like teal, blue, red. You've got a black in here. I just think they did a good job with this color story. Number 2, my most weighted collection. I love Michael Myers. The Halloween franchise is my favorite horror franchise. Scream is probably second, but super excited to have this. And this is a really cool color story, in my opinion. You've got the blues, the oranges, the gray, there's black, dark brown. I think they nailed it with this. Really, really good job. And lastly, this surprised me. This has become my favorite rainbow palette. It finally dropped Jawbreaker, because Jawbreaker was my favorite rainbow palette for years and years. So the Rick and Morty has replaced it. The reason I bought this palette is my husband likes Rick and Morty. I've watched it. I'm not obsessed with it or anything, but this palette's really good. I was very hesitant about getting it, and I ended up buying it because my husband liked it. Again, you can have every color you could think of. Really, really good quality. If you don't have this, whenever they bring it back in stock, it is worth picking up. Really, really good. So that is my ranking. You'll have to let me know. Was there anything that surprised you in this? Let me know. I do want to do a video where I swatch all the blacks in the palettes to see if they're the same, because I am curious about that, because you would think it would be the same black in every palette, but it may not be, just because I know Glamlite has switched up their formula a little bit. So let me know if you're curious about that, because I think I'm going to leave these palettes out just so I can film that later. But thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Let me know what your number 1 palette is and what your bottom palette is out of your Glamlite palettes that you own, if you have a bunch. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you enter my giveaway. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everybody.